All right, and we are live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. As always, I'm Eli, and this is Alex, Nostalgianomics. We're going to be talking about what's going on with Journey Together. Obviously, we have seen a slight pullback since the initial release. We're going to be talking about that. Is this kind of the beginning of the end? Is Journey going to go up from here, or is it going to just keep going down? But before we jump into that, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel. If you want to check out Alex's content, link is down in the description below. And then lastly, if you want to stay up to date, all things Pokemon USA, and if we ever have any spots open up for the wholesale program, check us out on Discord. We'll make announcements there, or you can feel free to DM me. But yeah, where do you want to begin, Alex? Do you want to go? Do you want me to go? How do you want to start this thing?
Man, I don't care. What is it? Boxes going to zero, cards going to zero. What? Which one?
I mean, my kind of thought process is this, right? On our last stream, we obviously said if the market continues the way it is, then obviously the anticipation is that the box will be $300 by April. And we've seen, well, actually, to be more specific, the question was asked, do we think this is going to follow what happened with Prismatic, or do we think this is going to follow what happened with Surging? Where with Surging, the price kept going up in the lead up, and then after the release, it like went sideways and then continued climbing. Whereas Prismatic on its release, it like took a pretty decent dive, and then from there it corrected and went up. From what it looks like is happening with Journey right now, it definitely feels like we're going more of the Prismatic route, where obviously, if hypothetically speaking, we had gone the Surging route, 300 by April definitely felt extremely realistic. Not to say it's still out of the cards, but it definitely might take a little bit more time now to hit 300, probably closer to May, if we see a little bit of more, downwards pressure or just kind of go sideways. Of course, this is all on the basis that there isn't some sort of second wave or reprint or whatever just happens to come out of nowhere in the next month or two.
Yeah, I mean, so my take on what's going on is the reason Prismatic had such a intense kind of reversal straight up is because they didn't release all the product at once. So they staggered it with the blister releases and the booster bundle releases. And also Journey Together is also a mainline set. So there's much more packs out there. Whereas Prismatic, you had just your ETBs with 9 packs. Then you had, some other little ancillary items like the sticker collection, binder collection, all that good stuff. Then you had those little blisters. Then you had the little bundles. And there's just so few packs available, which kept them very high. Journey Together, they not only released everything all together, the ETBs, the bundles, the booster boxes, but also there's so many more packs in booster boxes. There's so many more packs out there all at once. So I think that's what's causing such a pause in the price rise, is while all those packs are introduced to the market before they get opened at enough rate to start raising the product again and make it scarce, it's just taken a while. So it makes sense for it to take longer to move than Prismatic did. But I agree, man. It's just a matter of time. If we don't get more product from distributors in the next 1, 2, 3 months at the rate it's being open, which is still alarmingly high in my opinion. Just this set in general is more fun to open. I don't think you're going to find anyone in the entire hobby tell you otherwise. I think it's pretty much unanimously agreed upon that this set is much more fun to open than Prismatic Evolutions was, and probably even more than Surging Sparks, because the average hits per box I'm getting is like 13 to 14 plus hits, which just makes it more fun. You got great illustrations, you got great SIRs, you have the good looking gold cards finally. You've got those good-looking trainer full arts. I think it was the right set at the right time, and it'll go back up.
Yeah, this is one of those sets where, like you kind of said, it's getting opened in such high volume because it's a fun set to open. I know that at least in the shop, we're seeing so many sales for Journey Together comparable to even Surging. And it's because the pull rates seem so much better compared to Surging, and people are enjoying the fact that they actually feel like they have a chance of getting something. I mean, we've already pulled, like, in the shop, multiple of the top hits within the set, including the Lily's Clefairy. So it's like, when you see that happen, so soon after release, whereas before with like Prismatic Evolution, it was a while before we had someone actually pull the Umbreon in the shop, which ironically enough, we pulled 3 in 3 days. Um, Dude, okay, sorry to go on a sidetrack here. Literally, we had from our bundles, when the bundles were released for Prismatic, in 3 days, we had 3 demigod packs pulled. One of them included a Umbreon, and then we had 2 separate Umbreons be pulled outside of demigods. It was wild to see. And then in that same week, we had 2 people pull serialized cards. One of them was an Edgar Markov, which is worth over 5 grand in Magic. Like, dude, it was an insane week. And so going from that and then into Journey, where we've already had the Lily pulled and we've had multiple other of the top SIRs get pulled, it's like wild right now. But anyway, I digress. The point I was trying to get to was
Pokemon needs serialized cards.
Yeah, right. It just feels like people are having a lot of fun. Like, it's expensive, but if people feel like they have a genuine chance of getting a top hit, it makes it so that it doesn't feel as painful. Whereas with Prismatic, for the most part, when the set first released, people felt like they were getting just absolutely like brutalized by the fact that it's like, all right, cool, I got absolutely nothing, and I just opened multiple ETBs. Whereas you open a booster box and you're like, cool, I got multiple IRs, and some people got SIRs, and they walked away feeling like even though they spent a crap ton, they still got a ton of value out of their box.
Yeah, I mean, so Journey Together is the best hit rates overall out of the entire era, in my opinion. I mean, unless you count like specialty sets like, you know, Paldean Fates, the SIRs are harder to hit than base set, obviously Paldea, Obsidian, Paradox, all that, right? But overall, I've rip over 1,000 packs every single night, 5 days a week, right? I've opened all the sets, you know, more than a lot of people out there. I can tell you very clearly, we don't have any boxes in Scarlet Violet era that have an average of a 14 hits per box ratio. It doesn't happen. And so this set gives you more hits than the other boxes have in this era. It just makes you feel better. No matter what the value of the cards are, if you can pull a better card somewhere else, you don't like the cards, it just makes you feel better when you're opening packs. And, you know, every 3 or so packs, you're pulling something instead of like, you know, I've opened Surging Sparks boxes where you get 10 hits. 10 hits out of a whole 36 pack box. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So I think that's a factor.
Yeah. I mean, we had one person just open 6 packs, and in those 6 packs, he got 3 hits. And he was like, listen, I might not got an SIR, but getting an illustration rare and a couple of like a full art and an EX, he's like, I feel good about that. Right. Yeah. Whereas before it was like, I got lucky if I got even a standard EX in the last couple sets. So it's definitely a complete shift. And it's like, this is going to sound like a crazy statement to say, but because prices are so inflated, people feel better now when they get a hit, whereas before, like if you got a standard full art, you'd be like, I don't care, it's a standard full art. But with the full art trainers and like the full art Pokemon with the trainer being a little bit pricier than what you would typically see, it feels like you're actually getting a little bit more value out of that pull because it is more expensive than what a typical full art would go for.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how like this is I don't know if I said it on your stream or my own stream. This is exactly what I've been calling for. Pokemon need to do is like EXs have always been just like low level hits unless they're playable, then they're expensive. Otherwise, they're like 50 cent to $1 cards anyway. Mm-hmm. What's the problem with throwing 8 to 10 EXs in a box and then having, you know, your 3 illustration rares, maybe a gold, maybe an SIR, giving everybody 14, 15 hits a box? Why does it matter if the EXs are always going to be trash, right? Who cares if there's 5, 8, or 10? They're all going to be 50 cents anyway. Give people something shiny to pull. Keep the main hits actually hard to pull. It keeps everyone happy. And so, yeah, I like what they did with Journey Together. I love the partner Pokemon. I love the hit rates. I think it was the perfect set after Prismatic. As far as prices goes, everyone always reacts like crazily over really small little ups and downs. Because it's a smaller set, it makes sense. The singles are dropping. The singles are going to be less valuable. I said that from the beginning. But as far as like the box overall, that's why you can corroborate this. That's why people open up Obsidian Flames. Eli's talked about it before. People that come into a shop, they request to open Obsidian Flames still because why is it? It's a smaller set and you have a better chance to pull the Charizard than you do to pull, say, the Greninja in Twilight Masquerade. That's how Journey Together is. If it's a smaller set, you have a better chance of pulling the actual cards you want instead of just any hit. And so because of that, it's going to induce more opening of these boxes, which will lead to the scarcity.
Yeah, that was always the weirdest thing to me when people came in and they were like, "Yeah, can I get some obsidian?" And like as a business owner, it's never a good thing to be like, "Are you sure like you want to buy this?" Like, but there dude, you would be surprised the amount of people I've talked to that have been like obsidian flames is what got me back in the hobby. Not 151, but obsidian flames. And
That
it's
is
because
weird.
yeah, I've had people tell me that. And it's because the Charizard chase card when they introduced because think about it, it was the first secret illustration rare that they had as a Charizard. I know everyone looks at 151 because that's the more predominant one because 151 is obviously a much more loved set, but it was the first one that they showed within the Scarlet and Violet era. And so there were people that were like, when Obsidian came out, were extremely excited to like be able to have the opportunity to go in and open the set. And not to mention too, there's not one Charizard. There's multiple Charizards that you can pull within that set. And so people really like to get that kind of feeling of that chase, regardless of the value of the card itself. Obviously, we like having bigger hits. It's more fun that way. Bigger, more expensive is always going to be great, especially if you're wanting to, trade that card in to get more packs to open. But for a lot of people that are, constantly filtering in and out of the hobby, they typically want to kind of rekindle that feeling of when they were a kid and when they were able to pull a Charizard for the first time. And you see that a lot kind of be brought back into the space when you do have sets where you have high probabilities of getting illustration rare Charizards.
Yeah. No, I agree, man.
Yeah.
Retro says he's packing it up, dropping off his resume at Wendy's. It's over. Dude, I hear you, man. I just dropped mine off at Chick-fil-A, so I'll see you across
Oh
the street.
man, that's crazy. We got the chicken beef already. That's insane,
Dude.
dude.
Well, here's the thing. If I'm getting out of the Pokemon drama, I got to get into the chicken sandwich drama. Like, I can't just
Yeah,
get away from drama altogether. That's just stupid.
it's crazy. At least you won't. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to say this. At least you won't have any beef with anyone. Oh my god. I can't believe I said that. It's crazy. It was such a layup though. Oh my god. Anyway, moving on next. Yeah, no, I think another thing worth discussing here, as we kind of move on to just Journey being, in my personal opinion, a good set release. Let's start talking about what more recently happened during that release week, which was the next rotation for the Pokemon cycles officially happened. So I
Which
don't
was
know if you
devastating to me. I couldn't believe it snuck up on me, and I just, I'm still reeling from it.
So many people were paying attention. Yeah, right. So for those of you guys that don't know, this is an important bit of information. Pokemon, historically speaking, they tend to very, very, very rarely, and like I'm talking less than 1% chance, reprint something that is out of the standard rotational cycle for the competitive format. And so when certain things move out of rotation, typically they just go out of print. And what officially is now out of print is everything in the Sword and Shield era. So now it's just Scarlet Violet forward. So if you were someone that was hoping there was going to be some form of, Sword and Shield era reprint, it is now extremely unlikely that is going to happen. Obviously, nothing's ever guaranteed. Pokemon's never made any promises that they won't do it, but the statistical likelihood is extremely small. So right now we're just moving forward, obviously, with Scarlet Violet base and forward. Next rotation cycle won't happen from basically a year from now. So in theory, there is still a probability that any of these sets could still be reprinted. But once again, like we've said before, we obviously didn't get a Sword and Shield base reprint. We obviously didn't get Rebel Clash reprint. So it's never out of the norm that Pokemon decides not to reprint things regardless of whether they're still in the rotation cycle and you still got a year left. And then, of course, for those people that actually care about it, I know Alex probably doesn't, but I would definitely start grooming through your bulk and start looking at some of the cards that obviously have been affected by the changes, because there are a lot of Scarlet and Violet cards that started to see a significant price rise in value, because obviously with certain cards being banned, have some cards that skyrocketed up and are like going for several dollars now. If I'm correct, one of them, I'll have to double check, but I think one of them was the Arvin card, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal. Let me see. That one's actually been. Hold on. Near mint. That near mint. That one, it looks like it had a recent correction over the past day, but like that card's going for over $2 now, which doesn't sound crazy, but like I don't know about you guys. I had like a ton of build and battle kits that I purchased a while ago, and we just didn't have time to sort through the bulk, and we were just going through Magic instead. And so we just sat on a ton of these, build and battle kits, and all of them included multiple Arvins. And I have a ton of Arvin bulk now. So if you're someone that potentially was sitting on a bunch of Scarlet and Violet base bulk and you just didn't know what to do with it, it might be worth going through and just looking at some of the bulk cards that you may have, because you might all of a sudden find like several $100s worth of singles that are now worth money because the prices have started to go up on that. So just my 2 cents. I don't know if most people tend to care about that, but I figured it's something worth discussing. But what are your kind of thoughts on just everything, Alex? I don't know if you have a take on anything.
I mean, yeah, like, the more sets to get released, the more the more new like game mechanics that will continue to like, change the decks around, which could lead to other cards becoming playable in sets that recently weren't, or other, playable cards coming back in to be used more. And then that could actually help the value of those sets too. And so, yeah, it's definitely always something to pay attention to. I mean, especially with the stuff that's still in rotation, because, we've seen that happen multiple times where all of a sudden a card jumps from $1 to $5. And then you start seeing the, box price rising, and you don't even know why. It's well, because people are opening it and chasing it more, and the value of the sets going up, all those good things. So I mean, I remember like with Paradox Rift, when Iron Hands got so playable. I mean, you saw that regular EX Iron Hands was selling for more than most of the illustration rares, even some of the SIRs, and people were ripping packs like crazy of Paradox Rift to try to pull the SIR Iron Hands or the full art Iron Hands. And so that's what I would pay attention to, is like how it's going to affect, some of the sets, especially with Journey Together. And then, obviously Destin Rivals, if those like kind of are in combination with any cards in earlier sets, it could end up being playable. So just kind of pay attention to all that good stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Alfred mentions Arvin was also reprinted in Obsidian Flames as well. So you can also find it in Obsidian Flames. Yeah, which is wild to think about, that card literally has been reprinted multiple times and is still going for over $2. So I know a lot of people also are haters of Shrouded, but if you can find a stretcher, it goes for $3 a pop. So that's definitely something worth checking out. But yeah, no, I think with the way in which the direction is going right now in the market, we still have plenty of time for some things to kind of be addressed in terms of general pricing. But I was talking to one of my sources more recently. I talked to Alex about this briefly. And here's the deal, right? We've already heard Pokemon say it. I've already had it reconfirmed by some of my sources about the expectation that going with Prismatic Forward is where they're going to kind of focus a lot of their energy in terms of print. Obviously, nothing is 100% confirmed. This is information that I've been relayed to myself by trusted sources. But from what I've been told, at least, we're anticipating that Destin is going to get about 10% more for boosters. I don't know about miscellaneous product compared to Journey. So we should at least get a little bit more of that product available. And then also as well, the set following after Destin, it sounds like they're going to be printing an absolute crap ton of it. That's what I was informed by my very trusted source. We'll obviously see if that comes to fruition, but that could be something where, if hypothetically speaking, that does end up happening, then you could see a potential resettling of the market, where all of a sudden prices start to finally come down. And then from there, Pokemon, 6 months from there, right before a lot of these sets are going to go out of rotation, decides to print some of them. Now that they've officially caught up on some of the prices for the new sets, it causes prices to correct a little bit. And then, of course, it's a good buying opportunity one last time before they rotate out. Who knows, obviously, how far back they're going to go. But that just seems like the likely play if what my source is obviously saying comes to fruition.
Yes, sir.
Alex, do you have anything in particular you feel like you want to discuss regarding today?
Man, any new news of like reprints that you have from any of your distributors? Like, I know there's starting to be like some not new mentions of 151 product that's coming down the pipeline again, but I haven't heard anything. Wonder if you had anything on that.
Nothing official. Mine kind of stands on when I generally make announcements about reprints or resupplies is it's pretty simple. Is if I have any sort of inklings, like basically I've had some of my sources tell me, until I hear it coming from multiple other sources, I will not say anything because the last thing I want to do is just off of a whim hear one thing from one person and not have it corroborated. And so far, I haven't even heard it from one person.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Obviously, things move fast in this space, that's for certain. So I could easily hear something here shortly, and then I'll obviously address it either on the stream or on socials and kind of.
Well, I mean, here's one thing I can say. Like, I can probably count on one hand, and you correct me. How many sets have been reprinted after their 2-year mark? It's not many. It happens. Don't get me wrong. But
when you say after the 2 mark, you're basically saying like once they've gone out of rotation, in other words, or.
Well, I mean, 151, it hits 2 years later this year. I think in like, what is it? I don't know, August, September, October. Anyways, it's only a few months. It's only months away now from its 2-year mark. Meaning, in my opinion, if we don't see any more 151 by the end of the year, guys, I know everyone's going to say these things like they're going to reprint it eventually into the ground. It's going to be cheap again. I think I don't know what's going to happen in the next, 6 months or so. If we get near the end of the year and there's no more 151, I think you should probably pick it up because likely it's not going to happen after the 2-year mark. That's my take.
After the 2-year mark. Yeah, that's definitely a tough one because I feel like it's a question to answer because there's so much variability that makes it kind of like a really tough one to kind of figure out.
It was released September 22nd of 2023. So,
well, I guess what I'm trying to get to is like, so standard rotation, historically speaking, was right after Worlds. You typically saw standard rotation usually like early September is when things would rotate out. But because of COVID and obviously the switching to silver borders, that changed things. And so now it's end of March. So you have a rotational cycle that kind of messed things up on how we perceive things would typically get printed. And then you also think as well, too, with that, you've got a lot of sets that were affected because of COVID where they literally got like no print forever and then last second got print. Like kind of what you saw with Darkness Ablaze, where Darkness Ablaze came out near early 2020 and it wasn't until like end of 2021, beginning 2022. So basically right at its 2-year mark when you started to see it get printed. And of course, as it gets older, the likelihood is less likely that it'll get printed. But ETBs for Darkness got reprinted in June, it was May of 2022. So it was almost like 2.5 years. Obviously not booster box product, but that's significantly later. Is that
like I said, there's been a few. It's only been a few times. Like most every set I can remember, it's really like a handful, and so it's just like with investing, especially in this hobby, you're always operating with incomplete information. Yeah. I just always say you want to operate on the side that has the majority. If the majority of the time when it reaches this 2-year mark, you don't usually see more product. I would say if you're still not jumping in on 151 because you're afraid of all these reprints, if we get to the end of the year and you still haven't seen price drops and you still want a position, it's probably time to jump in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think if we see reprints occur, right? And here's what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. And I've been saying this forever now. This next like reprint cycle, whatever this ends up looking like, is going to be a huge indicator moving forward. It's going to really clear some things up because there's so many questions we ask ourselves all the time. Is it because of silver borders? Is it because of COVID? Is it because of all these variables? New information is going to obviously help this happen, in allowing us to make predictions moving forward. Because if we, let's say, this sounds crazy to say, but Paradox Rift, if they come and reprint that, then that might change things. But if they don't reprint anything, before surging, then obviously we're like, okay, this makes sense. These sets have been out of rotation, or well, they've been in rotation, but they obviously have been around for several years now. likelihood is extremely low that the general assumption after 2 years, you know.
Yep.
We'll
Yeah, I mean
see what.
that's my only thing. It's just like, you know, and
Yeah.
guys, we've seen it a million times. I think people overthink this hobby, but it's just like, look, Evolutions was one of these most overprinted sets in history. Crown Zenith got very late reprints, so many Sea and Sky boxes, very overprinted. Hidden Fates was overprinted. You could name so many sets that were quote unquote overprinted. They're all doing well. They all perform well. They always go up. And it's just like, I think people like, they let all this ridiculous, like, nonsense just like cloud their brain into thinking why this is the time that one of the best sets in the era, one of the most iconic sets we've seen in, you know, however many years is going to be the time where it doesn't go up. It's going to be too overprinted. They're going to run it into the ground eventually. And it's not going to be, it's like, no. 151, I guarantee you at some point it'll be a $15, $20 pack within the next year or 2 years. It's just going to be the way it is.
Dude, Hidden Fates was such a long hold. It's crazy that now it's finally at like 280, pushing 3.
But the funny part is when you even, I just made a video about this, that's why I know. Let's just say you bought into it at the same price as Prismatic. Everyone's talking about Prismatic, right? Being too expensive. Hidden Fates was the same way. It was really expensive out of the gate, really hard to ever find under $100. Dude, even if you would have bought it 140 on Hidden Fates, right? You know, way back then, dude, in 5 years, you still over doubled your money faster than the S&P still. Even buying in 2 times MSRP back then. It's just like, you can't keep good sets down forever. Eventually, they find a way no matter how much you print them.
Yeah, my distros, well, actually distro, I only had one at the time. They were selling it for $100 if you wanted to get it. So it was ridiculously expensive just being able to get access to the ETBs.
So people used to get laughed at in my Discord for buying Crown Zenith. Like there was one guy who like bought like a pallet of Crown Zenith ETBs when they hit like 400 a case. And everyone was just like laughing at him, saying how they were going to be available forever. Such a bad play. You should be putting your money into this or that. And it's just like, look how that turned out. You know, over 200% your money in less than a year. It's just like, you can't keep a good set down no matter how much they print. Evolution should have been the end all be all to that statement. But you know how it is. Every time goes on, people have short-term memories. They forget about that. They come up with reasons why that happened. Well, Alex, that's only because of COVID. Now they're saying, Alex, that's only because of this boom. And then in 5 years, they'll say, Alex, it's only because of something else. Guys, this is just how the hobbies operate. It's just how trading cards operate. Eventually, you're going to have to either stop making excuses or be okay with missing out because everybody else is going to get on board. They are going to take advantage of this. And they're going to be the ones that you guys are all complaining about in the future when they own it and it's all expensive. And you're saying this shouldn't be that way, but it always is. It just always is.
It's just time. Obviously, time goes on. That will obviously that will always make things go up when they're deflationary. That's the thing. People tend to forget about Pokemon. It has nothing to do. Don't get me wrong. Demand plays a huge factor, but what plays an even greater factor is the fact that the products are deflationary. As more gets opened up, the more scarce they become. Sets like, I mean, where are we with Steam Siege right now? Like literally Steam
Siege.
Dude,
XY has been blowing up. I don't know.
Dude, Steam Siege, arguably, I think I ranked it number 2 or number 3 is like one of the worst sets of all time. Right now, I know it's just TCG Player, but we've got a recent sale for over $500 for the box. Lowest listed $700. It's considered to be one of the worst of all time, and it is extremely expensive. So could you have made a better return on other boxes? Why, of course, but it's just going to show you that even the worst of the worst is going to still perform significantly well in the long term because it is an item that is deflationary. There's only so many in existence, and they will go down in their overall supply over time as more gets opened up.
That's always the funniest thing too, is like the stupidity of, you know, people's arguments. Like no matter what you share, it doesn't matter what gain you share, people are going to say, well, you could have made more doing this. And you're just like, yeah, there's always something. Well, you should have been in Bitcoin. No, you should have been in XRP. No, you should have been in Nvidia. No, you should have been in these option contracts. You should have been in these futures contracts. You should have been currency trading. It's like, dude, I get it. There's always something better. But in reality, it's just like if you're making above average gains on something that you put money into, you made a play on, there's always gonna be something better. There's probably always gonna be something worse. There's never a reason why you should feel bad about it.
Yeah. I mean, this is my number 1 take on the worst set of all time. So personal opinion, obviously doesn't mean it's fact. But emerging powers. Horrible
By
set.
far.
Horrible set.
By far.
It's going for several grand. It's going for like 2,500, 2,000, something like that. It's
And
an
there's
old set.
literally no value. Like that's another thing people convince themselves too
The
is
card
that
value doesn't matter.
yeah, they're like, oh, there must be a grading play. No, there's no grading play either.
No,
There's literally no value to be had by opening that box or grading the cards. And so it really trips people up onto why it's valuable then. It's just the sealed nature of the product. The way that people collect cards and they look at pop reports, well, there's no pop reports on boxes, but it's the same way. People value the scarcity of the item itself rather than what could be inside of it.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'm just gonna say this. We're gonna take questions a little bit early today. So before we jump to the question portion of the video, if you want us to answer your question, really helps out if in all caps or to start your question, you literally just write question and then follow it by your question. Allows me to be able to just find your question a lot easier. And of course, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the channel. But yeah, no, I think it's just, I mean, we talk about this a lot. It's just short-term mindset, just as always. It's always having to do with the fact that it is a short-term mindset that a lot of people have in this space. As soon as they buy the product, they say, how do I offload it for a profit? But it's like, at that point, you're just like a retailer. Like, I don't know. Everyone wants to have a card
There's nothing
shop
wrong
without
with that.
owning a card shop.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, hey, if you can move something right away and you're comfortable with it, do it. But like, you know, that shouldn't be like your end goal of right when you buy something.
Yeah. Where do you think we're gonna? I know it's super early and it's hard to say. Where do you think Destin's gonna be?
$300.
Yeah. Have you seen obviously the prices coming down?
I don't know what's gonna happen in the meantime, but yeah, at release, I would think it's gonna be $300.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I think this is one of those instances. I know obviously Journey has since corrected since release. Destined was selling out the gate for 4. That just seems ridiculous. That's not even close to unheard. Like it's literally something you would have assumed was a joke. So the fact that it's correcting now and it's now into the 330, I definitely think, like you said, I think 300 is a much more realistic approach for Destin Rivals. Because it's just wild to see where that set is currently. I think honestly, this might sound like a crazy statement to say, but with all of the information available we have so far, I don't think it's that crazy. I think Destin's going to be one of those sets they're going to probably really try and target. Like they're going to look at that set, especially since it is a set that has Team Rocket type characters, and they're going to be like, we're going to try and print as much as we can. Also, one thing I do want to say that I think is extremely important information. Do you remember about like anywhere between 3 to 6 months ago, how forever we kept saying, please don't make it a specialty set. And there was like so much skepticism about if it was going to be a specialty versus the booster box set. Well, guess what, guys? It's a booster box set. So I feel like everyone's going to be a lot more excited regarding that. Because, man, it would have sucked so much if they made that a specialty set. I'm so glad we're going to be able to get it in booster box
What's
form.
funny, though, is like how all those specialty sets, well, not all of them, but like they're either performing as good or better other than Shrouded than the mainline sets.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and that's I feel like one of the reasons why people don't want it to be a specialty set is because it's just so much more expensive, comparably for how many packs you're gonna get, right? Like if you're gonna say, all right, let me go open like Prismatic, obviously, you're gonna go spend like it's 140 right now, so you're spending is it 9 packs, for standard, yeah. So you're gonna go pay like 14. Oh my god, not even 14, like $16 a pack. Whereas right now, if you bought Journey together, which don't get me wrong, Journey's super expensive, but if you're buying it for market price right now, you're paying about $6 a pack, $6.66. That's not that expensive when you break it down like that. Like that's really not that crazy.
Okay, let me throw a question at you. And in chat, you guys, before we take your questions, you guys can answer this question, right? Would you rather open an $80 booster box and the best card you can pull is worth $25? Or would you rather open a $350 booster box and the best card you can pull is worth $1,000 plus?
Are you buying the booster box for me?
I know. I'm saying like if you had to open, if you had the choice to open one,
I know. I'm just kidding.
I would rather take the bigger chase, and I think most people would. I think that's why Prismatic Evolutions is still opened I think people enjoy having a bigger chase than just having like a cheaper product on average.
Two things can be true at once. Um, a set can still perform well without having a big chase, and a set can perform well because of a big chase. I think that's something
True.
that needs to be said, because you can look at a set like Evolutions, which does not have a big chase, and it's literally performed phenomenally well, especially considering how scarce it is as a set. But then you can also look at something like Twilight, where, you know, people like me, not the hugest fan of the set, but because it does have big chases like the Greninja, its value has held extremely strong, as continued to climb over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I would definitely prefer to, I mean, 350 versus 80 is definitely a pretty big jump. But if you were to say, here's a good example. Would I prefer to open Journey Together at 240? Actually, I don't know if Journey's a good example, because the chase is only going for like $200. But to your point, yes, I'd much rather open something more expensive if the chase itself is obviously going to be going for significantly more. I'm going to have better pull rates than something that's going to be significantly cheaper, but the pull rates are garbage. And or
Let's
you're
say the
just
pull
not
rates are
going
the
to get a
same.
ton of value, or you're going to not get a ton of value.
No, let's say they're the same. Here, let's say, you know, it's the same as that pull rate. So I think like Journey Together is 1 out of 84 packs or something like that as a SIR. Let's say it's the same. Let's say you have an $80 box with a 1 out of 80 SIR, or a $300 box with a 1 out of 80 SIR. The only difference is the one in the Journey Together is worth, you know, way more, and the one in the $80 box is worth like $25. I think people still want to pull valuable cards.
I mean, I know
Like
at least
you know, because I just don't see a lot of people wanting to pay more for the box than the card they can even pull, if that makes sense.
I mean, I know at least in shop, when people would ask me like, what sets do you recommend to open? You know, we had all of the Scarlet and Violet first half sets, and I would always recommend whichever set I felt like was the best bang for your buck, even if it was, you know, slightly more expensive. For me, I was like, you know, you can go get the Magikarp that goes for over $100. You can go get the Greninja, which goes for like, sure, you're paying an extra $1.50 per pack, but like, would
It's
you
worth it.
rather pay an extra $1.50 and be able to have a $300 card, or would you rather pay $1.50 less and you're gonna go pull like a $60 or $70 card from like Paradox or Obsidian, which at the time the Charizard was going for like 40, $50. So
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone's preference. I just feel like, I don't know, for me at least, and for like people I've asked this question to before, it just seems like people would rather have a higher chase, I think.
yeah, 100%. All right, let's start getting into the question section. We'll start doing it. What do you guys think about CR ETBs or booster boxes of play? I feel like it's slept on. I assume he means Chilling Reign.
I mean, gosh, when a box goes from 140 to 320 in the course of a year, it's hard to say it's slept on anymore, but
yeah,
it could still be a play.
Yeah,
It could still be a play. I can't say it's slept on. I think people are pretty much on it.
I think it's gonna sound crazy. I think Chilling's been. Oh man, I'm gonna get so much flack for this. I would argue that it's actually the other way around. For the longest time, Chilling was. I'm not saying it's overvalued, but I think that people like hyped it up too much. Because I remember I had a debate. It was like an hour-long conversation I had on one of my older lives, and I basically was saying I thought Fusion was going to do better than Chilling. Not because I thought that Fusion in and of itself was such a better set than Chilling, because I do like Chilling more, but it was because people were not putting enough value on the Mew and the Gengar and the Espeon. Because I was like, those cards are so gorgeous and they're going to hold up that set so strong. Whereas with Chilling, people were like, well, Chilling has so many more like alternate arts that you can pull. Obviously, that makes it more fun. And obviously, you know, the Blaziken is still worth something. And so for the longest time, I always felt like there was such a debate between the two, and Chilling was always the one a lot of people said was going to perform much better over time. Obviously, Fusion is currently more expensive than Chilling, and so it feels like the weirdest thing ever, where forever people were saying Chilling was going to be a better performer. It didn't perform as good, and so because of that, people are still saying it's undervalued. even though I don't know. I just feel like it's overblown in that regard. I think it's right where it is perfect. I think it'll do well over time. But I don't think that it's necessarily a set that is going to pull ahead significantly farther compared to a lot of the other Sword and Shield era boxes in the same way Evolving has.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was Northwoods, by the way. I just remembered. Northwoods was the individual I had the conversation with. But next question. Are you guys still taking bulk of the store? And if so, is there a form or you just bring it in? Would love to bring in a local place in the Valley. We're not honestly accepting bulk at this time for Pokemon. We want to start. The biggest issue is for us currently is the volume for selling bulk is so much lower for Pokemon compared to Magic. And so we're just not able to sell it as quickly. We're trying to get into exploring alternative options of how we can offload a lot of our Pokemon bulk through like bulk lots on Amazon and other websites. Until we kind of get that addressed, we're honestly not going to be taking Pokemon bulk because it just doesn't make sense. The sell-through rate on Magic is like 5-1. Like it sells so much faster comparably. And then on top of that too, with the way in which we have our operations set up with like Magic, when we sell cards, we list our shipping anywhere between $2 to like $5, because if we listed it for free shipping, then it would just sell so much that we wouldn't be able to manage the demand. Whereas with Pokemon, if you don't offer free shipping, then the product just never sells. So it's like such a huge contrast between the two. So it just doesn't feel like it's as great of a play to sell on TCG Player if you're going for like cards that are 10 cents or lower. It's most of the money is made when it comes to Pokemon bulk on the cards that are going for like 50 cents or more. Whereas with Magic, it could be cards that go for 10, 20 cents. They're going to burn like crazy. All right. Next question that we have up. If and when there are Journey booster box reprints, which booster box pre-sale versus enhanced is more likely to get reprinted? Enhanced. What?
Oh, I think it's the opposite.
You think is the standard?
Dude, here's my take. I would tell everyone to at least hold on to some enhanced boxes.
I just think enhanced is more likely because enhanced is what they did. So I don't know why they would change it. They could, but it just, if they've done enhanced, why wouldn't they have the reprint?
Because they would have to reprint and package all those promos again.
You make it seem like promos are so hard to package.
No, but it's a whole nother run while they're trying to print other products. Like, dude, I think I'm telling you, I think we're going to defer on this. I think there's a very real possibility on enhanced boxes may be the reprint.
I mean, I think it's possible. I'm just saying that why would we think? I guess my take is why would we, if they did something, why wouldn't they continue to do that for a reprint on a set that, I mean, at least with Destin's going to be enhanced boosters. So it just feels like, at least for the next couple sets, they're going to go the enhanced booster route. I don't know why they would change that just because it happened to be a reprint. That's kind of where my mind is.
Yeah, I mean, no one knows. I mean, it's just
yeah, it's all hypothetical.
I would definitely hold on to some enhanced though.
Best booster box to buy from Sword and Shield.
For what? Opening, collecting, investing? I don't know.
Yeah. Me and my
Evolving Skies.
Evolving Skies. Me and my portfolio, it's evolving. It's evolving, baby. I have to clear up capital. Wait, hold on. I have to clear up capital. Do I left go? I don't know what he's trying to say. Do I let go of? I think is what he meant to say. Do I let go of Stellar, Temporal, Paradox, everything else I'm holding long term? If you have to let go of capital, you like have to.
Stellar's got the highest probability of a reprint.
That's true. That's honestly, that's a good point. Yeah, I think that's probably right. I don't see Paradox getting reprinted. I think Paradox is probably the safest. Yeah, I think that's right. I think Stellar's the right answer there. And not to say that I don't like the set; it's a great set, but like, yeah, I think it's just the highest probability.
By the way, guys, I got to shout out my stream. If you guys want a chance at a Squirtle or a Bulbasaur PSA 10, come by the pack breaks tonight. You have a chance to win one.
Alex, can you put in a good word for retrospects with the manager at Chick-fil-A?
Retro, I applied to be the manager, dude. I am going to be your manager.
I don't know, Alex. Your name isn't biblical enough to be a manager at Chick-fil-A. Don says, how do you and Alex see Destin Rivals playing out?
It's going to be extremely high out of the gate. I would say 300 or more. No idea what's going to happen in the 2-3 years after release. By year 4 or 5, I think it'll be one of the most valuable boxes in the entire era, if not the most valuable.
I think
that's my take.
I think it's going to play out in the same way right now that we're seeing Journey play out, except at a higher scale, right? Or at a higher price point. So Journey, obviously, you saw a huge, price increase on the product before release. Now, to be fair, it's obviously gone opposite since Destined, but it's still going to come out the gate significantly more expensive than Journey by release. Like Alex said, 300. I assume that after the release happens, it probably goes into the high 2s, low 3s, and then goes sideways for a little bit and then just climbs like crazy unless we get some form of a reprint. So just kind of what we're seeing right now with Journey happen, where it's super expensive, set comes out, corrects, and then price goes back up again after it's done correcting for the short term. So I don't know. I think, to be fair too, we haven't seen the full list yet of Destined. So if we see some like absolutely mind-boggling crazy cards get released, I could definitely see the alternative where the set itself corrects now, but then actually in the lead up it goes to 4, which sounds wild to say, but like, I mean, what's to stop it from going that way if we get some form of, and this is going to sound stupid to a lot of people, but if we get some form of Dark Charizard, or we get some
why is that stupid?
Because people are going to be like, oh, Charizard, like it's overblown, but it's like, it's a Charizard. Like, I don't know. I feel like so many people get so sick and tired of Charizards, but then forget that it's still going to make a set worth so much money.
I go back to what I always say, dude. The online nature of this hobby is they think I'm out of touch. The online community is out of touch with the hobby, because everything that you hear complained about by like YouTubers, comment sections, people in Discords, Reddit, all that is like the exact opposite of what actually ends up happening. Like you said, people come into your store, they begged for Obsidian Flames. Everyone online hated Obsidian. Like, I just think people have no idea who the actual like 99% of the consumers out there are, and all the people who sit around the online sites complaining all day about stuff, they're the most out of touch people in this hobby. That is my take. So yes, if there's a Charizard, it will do extremely well, no matter how anyone wants to hate on it and whatever stupid stuff they want to say. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. 151 or Paldea Evolved?
How do you do this to me? I gotta take 151, but Paldea is a close second.
I think 151. I personally like Paldea more as a set, but 151's volatility has been insane. Like, just looking at the Ultra Premium collection and it's going for 350 when at one point we were able to pick it up for like in the 70s for a while is wild to me.
Dude, we sat here. We can go back to our old live streams. We sat here and begged people to buy them at Costco for $79.99. And we literally had people in the comments saying, remember, I'm going to wait for the reprint. Dude, you have an $80 UPC there to buy as much as you want. And you're saying, I'm waiting for the reprint.
And that
was how mindless people were.
And this is back before people were fighting at Costco for product. This was why you can go into a Costco and it would just be sitting.
Dude, those videos aged so well. Our live streams, dude, I sat here and begged people to go freaking buy it. And they were telling me, I'm going to wait.
Or promoless enhanced booster boxes be considered worthless and considered defect? Would you still keep them for investing or sell them as an error? They're not defects at all.
Defects.
I have them. I literally have some. It's just certain products have them and certain don't. It just depends on, at least in the United States, right? Because obviously they're more prevalent in the UK. But like, we as a storefront qualify for pre-release events. And in these pre-release boxes, they include one booster box of Journey Together. And the booster box is just a standard one. It's not an enhanced one. So it's not like the people that get their hands on these, standard ones are getting them because Pokemon didn't intend to do it. Like they intended to split it in certain instances.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, dude. And if you're right, and they do reprints of the enhanced boxes, those unenhanced boxes are going to be the more expensive one.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
people
it's
think that's crazy,
game, right? You're just
people think that's a weird thing. That's scarcity is how this hobby runs.
Yeah, if you really want to be safe, you just buy a case of each and then just say, all right, let's find out.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah.
Nomics, do you think, or have you seen the video the last few days of streamers competing at you? Is that am I?
He's just talking about the opossum buds, and I don't know. There's some dumb ugly chicks saying stuff. I don't know. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people online always like trying to talk crap. I don't know. There's always these people that come out of the woodwork.
Dude, that's crazy.
What? They're just people that come out of the woodwork that you have no idea who they are. I mean, everyone knows opossum bud, but like these random people, and then they like try to make a name off like using my name. And I don't know. It's comical. It just sounded
so personal. What you just said.
I didn't mean to be personal. I'm just all right. Sorry, maybe I was a little harsh. No, just like randoms that you don't know who they are, and they just like make a name off talking about other people. That's all.
Yeah, we don't gotta go for like.
All right, maybe that was a little. All right, sorry.
Yeah, that was
I forget how sensitive we are here. I'm sorry.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I get talking to you like we're off screen, and then I forget we're on screen, and people get in their feelings. I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. If your distributor sold Destin Rivals for $200 at release, would you still buy your full allocation? That's crazy work.
Yo, your full allocation? Ooh. I mean, I would buy my full allocation, but for yours, that's
yikes,
buddy. That's a risk.
Yeah, that would.
You're gone. We lost Eli. Nah, I mean, Eli would still get his full allocation.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry,
yeah, you would still get it because everyone in your program would still buy it 200 anyway.
But still, that would be so awful if they tried pulling something like that. There's no way. But yeah, I would have to. I wouldn't have an option. That'd be so much money. Holy crap. That would suck. Have you seen? All right, we already saw this one. Yo, did you see there was a proposed legislation to regulate the resale of concert tickets as a measurement to prevent scalping? Could we see this roll over into Pokemon?
You know what? Me and my friend I work with, we've talked about this. Like, I wonder if Pokemon or if the government will ever like regulate Pokemon. Like, will they ever regulate whatnot or regulate like pack openings or like, it is something to think about. Like, will they ever start regulating some of these things? If like enough people complain and the voices get loud enough, because look, the government, one thing the government is not shy about doing is sticking their finger into private sector. So it's a possibility.
I think the problem is they're two completely different instances though, or situations, because like concert, you have a limited space. It's not like you can print more seats. Like if you only have a certain amount of seats in the stadium, you're only going to be able to sell that many seats in a stadium.
Yeah.
Right. But if you've got a booster box, like with Pokemon, for example, Pokemon can print more of it. They're two completely different things in that regard. So I don't see that as being the case where that's something that would happen. Not to mention from like a regulatory perspective, how are you going to like clamp down on that? you know, and more specifically with concerts, I can only speak to like sporting events. You've got certain organizations like SeatGeek and, you know, Ticketmaster, which are like notorious for just gouging individuals on tickets. And so I feel like it's more of a clamping down on certain organizations rather than it is individuals.
Yeah, I doubt they would. I doubt they would ever clamp down on like scalping, because it's like you're buying retail products. But like, I could definitely see them somehow like regulating sellers. Like, I could see them, you know, like we were talking about, like kind of like you have like an alcohol license to sell, you know, alcohol, like restaurants. Like, I could see them making you have like a certain license, or go through like some stupid BS weekend class, or take some test or training just so the government can get some money out of it, and like so you can sell certain things online or through this avenue. Like, I could see some stupid regulation like that eventually.
Imagine you're just like, imagine you're a scalper and you're just in the parking lot of a Walmart and you've just got like a 151 Blooming Waters box and you're like, all right, I'm going to sell. You ready for the transaction? And it's like all shady. And then it's a sting operation. Some cop just like arrests you on the spot for scalping product. You're under arrest. Get back in the car.
Oh, it's so funny, dude.
You scalper. Like, that's for the little kids. Thank you very much.
God, that's so
Go
funny.
put it back on the shelf.
And instead of like those drug busts where they had like take a picture in front of all the drugs, they'll take a picture in a mountain of like ETBs. Like,
yeah,
we got these off the streets.
Yeah, seriously. No, that's crazy work. Do you think Paldea and Surging will be 1,000 a box? Yes, of course. 100%. I mean, will it take like 10, 20 years? Possibly. I don't have a crystal ball, but it definitely will be worth that much at some point. It's just a matter of time. I mean, XY is the current generation right now that is moving into the $1,000+ range on a lot of their boxes. Right? Hell, Sun and Moon is. So depending upon how strong the set performs in the long term compared to you know, most of its counterpart sets, I guess, or just other sets within that generation, it could take anywhere between 5, 10, 15 years. So, because like right now, Steam Siege is a set that came out in 16, right? 2015, 2016. So it's a 10-year-old set and it's going for $500. So if you say in 10 years, one of the worst performing sets in the XY era, I mean, I don't see why not a set like Surging, which is going to be one of the top performing. And so same with Paldea, it couldn't get there in the next 10 years. And it's already
I always tell people is so like,
stronger.
And I don't know how recent these numbers are, but just literally get on like Wikipedia and look at the top media franchise list. And you can like just look at like some of like the major freaking franchises that have been around for so much longer than Pokemon, and they're still around today. Like Looney Tunes, right? It's a $17 billion media franchise, been around since 1930, right? You can look at like Harry Potter, 34.7 billion, been around since 97, right? Star Wars, 46.7 billion, been around since 77. Pokemon is worth more than all three of those I just listed combined at 98.9 billion. And it's been around only since 1996. So people are like trying to, you know, think that, oh, well, it's going to fall off. It's going to, guys, these other franchises are worth a fraction of what Pokemon is. And they've been around 10 times longer. You really think Pokemon's going to stop growing, fall off, go away? It's only going to get bigger and stronger and draw in more and more generations, more and more people, more and more money. And these products are going to be worth more and more, no matter if you like it or not, whether you're in the hobby or not. It's going to happen regardless, with or without us.
Yeah.
That's my take.
I mean, watch Disney just burn, you know, Star Wars and Marvel into the absolute ground, and yet they're still finding ways to do reboots. Because this time it's going to be different. I mean, I don't know if you follow Marvel at all. I've kind of fallen off on following it, but they're trying to, like, you know, do the Doctor Doom introduction and hoping that's going to rekindle things. And it'll probably do numbers in the box because they're going to squeeze it as much as they can. But you can see popular franchises still trying to do some form of reboots or retakes or whatever. I mean, hell, Harry Potter is coming out with an HBO series. Like, and it's supposed to be Well, it was supposed to be a straight up adaptation of the book, but it's not. It doesn't sound like it's going to be. But anyway, they're gonna milk the crap out of IPs forever. They stick around. Is it better to sell duplicate / bulk on your own, or is it better to get trading credit for a percentage? It depends how much you value your time.
I don't know. I just burn it.
Yeah, it really just depends how much you value your time. Because, like, it obviously, if you really, really want to go about it in a way that I think is best, like, let's say you don't have a card sorting machine, what you should probably do is you should probably go find a list of like the top 5 to 10 most expensive cards right now in the Pokemon space. And you should just have that list next to you, and you just go sift through. And if you see one of those cards, you set off to the side, and then when you're done, just go trade it in. Because it's not worth your time trying to sell a 10-20 cent card unless you're doing it on like a mass scale where you've got so many things in place automation wise. But if you can just go happen to find in an hour, you sift and find like 20 cards that are each worth like, $2 a pop, like, all right, there's $40 an hour. Obviously you have to then still package it up and, ship it off. And that's going to cost you in labor. But, that's the see. Even then you start breaking it down, how much it's costing you in your time.
I used to get in debates with that all the time, and I gave up because people would always just, they'd go back to one phrase that I could never compete with. And they'll just always go back to, well, it's fun for me. It doesn't feel like work. All right, then do it. But it's like, if we're talking about like legitimate, like valuing your time, which few people in this hobby actually do, yeah, it's not worth it. Like if you value your time at all on what it takes to sort through, to list, to let someone buy it, to, go out and buy shipping materials, go through the shipping process, take the risk of all that. Like if you're not doing it in large volume, if you don't have like expensive enough cards, it's truly not worth it on a small scale operation. So like, you have to, if you're going to do anything seriously, you have to value your time. It can't be, oh, well, I have extra time on the weekends. Well, yeah, but you could have been using that time doing other things. So are you actually making enough off your time for it to be worth it? Is what I always say.
Yeah, Pokemon bulk is just, it's rough, dude. It's so rough.
Because otherwise, it's like, are you even making more than your job? It's just like, well, what do you make at your job per hour? Why don't you see if you can pick more hours up there? Like, why do all this extra work for less money?
Well, I think what's tough too is it's like, at least with Pokemon, you'll be sorting through your bulk, sorting through your bulk, and you'll find a card that goes for like $3 or $4, and you're like, nice. Whereas with Magic, you could be sorting through your bulk and find a card that goes for like $20-30. Like that's a huge difference, right? I know in just some of the commander decks that we're purchasing in the program, or we did for a while there with Lost Caverns of Ixalan, you have some cards that are just in that going for anywhere between $20 to $40, just one card, right? That's included in these pre.
Yeah, you're not going to find that in Pokemon.
You're not going to find that in Pokemon. Next question. Gem rates in Prismatic are just as bad as 151. 151 PSA 10 sell for 3 to 4 times raw, while a lot of Prismatic PSA 10s are only selling for 2x raw. Am I crazy, or is the PSA 10 Sumbreon a steal?
It's definitely a theory.
I mean, I think it's difficult though, because the set is so new compared to 151. 151 being such an, I say such a, but in comparison, it is such an older set. I don't know.
Right, but he's saying like, will the Sumbreon get there by the time it's that old?
I guess what I'm saying is I don't know, because it depends how the market plays out. Because you could see the Sumbreon correct and then the PSA 10 stay where it is. And then sure, it feels like a good hedge because the PSA 10 didn't lose value, whereas the raw did. Or you could obviously see it go the other way around, where the PSA 10 goes up while the Sumbreon stays where it is. So I guess it's not the worst look at it, but then you're still taking the risk over the fact that the expectation is there's going to be more Prismatic, which is going to probably lead to a correction for both. So I don't know. It just seems like there's still so much that we don't know regarding Prismatic and determining whether it's a valuable pickup right now for graded.
I wouldn't hold one. If I had a Sunbreon, I would sell it personally. That's me though. There's too many variables, right? There's reprint variables. There's the possibility of it being easier to hit with the reprints, which usually isn't, but let's just say it is. There's possibilities of being better quality with the new reprints. Like there's just too many variables holding a card that early, in my opinion. I mean, it may pay off. I'm not saying you're not going to be right. It's just for me, it's too risky, but that's on you.
Yeah. Can't wait to not have an opinion on this. Thoughts on Topps Chrome? I'm loving researching, collecting in the vintage market with Ultra Pro Modern is going bonkers. What other places are you guys buying right now, if any?
I'm not touching vintage.
I've always hated Topps Chrome. I've never been a fan. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just never liked it. Vintage is an investment. If I'm going to buy vintage, it's going to be for my collection. It's not going to be for my investment. It's so much more unpredictable.
It's more risky.
It's way riskier. Way riskier. Which sounds crazy to see because the volatility in this market's insane. But also at the same time, we know what the floor is. We don't know what the floor is.
If you were to make vintage plays, you should have. I don't know when you got back in the hobby, pooped up cheese. So sorry, but like the time to buy was after the crash. It was in 2022, 2023, leading into 2024. Like that was, if you wanted to make vintage plays, that was the time. Like now it's being pumped almost as much as modern right now. Like, and we saw what happened to a lot of those vintage cards when the, kind of bubble popped, like they crashed harder than modern boxes. And so it's like, if I was buying into anything right now, it wouldn't be vintage cards. It would have been vintage like 2 years ago.
Yeah. No, 100%. Alfred says Destined is not enhanced. I thought it was enhanced.
I'll take Alfred's word for it. I'm not, dude. You're gonna go against Alfred?
I'm not gonna go against Alfred. I'll never go against
the last thing I'm gonna
do. Destin Rivals booster box. Yeah, I guess it's showing up as not enhanced. Yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, Alfred's word is gold.
So why would they? That is interesting. I could have sworn they were gonna do it, but I guess
Eli,
not.
look at me. Look at
why
me.
would they do it for Journey?
Look at me. Hold your Journey together cases. Here, let me ask you this. How high do you think the Journey Together enhanced boxes would go if the reprints were not enhanced? Like 500? I think 500 is pretty reasonable.
There would at least be a 20% premium.
I think 500 is reasonable.
Man, that'd be wild.
Because then there'd be a frenzy of people trying to buy them up, and nobody would want to list them. The market, because this is the first time they've done this.
There would be a big premium for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we're going to think this way, actually, I think 20% might be too low. I think we would have to go back and we'd have to compare it to Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs versus standard. I know.
Oh, that's scary.
I know, obviously, one item is more than the other, but by MSRP standard, it's only $10 more. So it's like, is it really that much more? 40 versus 50, 50 versus 60 now? Like, that's a scary thought, right? Yeah, so you could easily see here, let's look at what's a good set? Let's look at Surging. Let's look at Surging.
Surging PCTBs are about 170 or 185. I think I'm still the lowest list on them.
They're 185, and the standard ETB is going for about 100. Yeah,
so I've actually been selling some Surging PCs.
So if we say that there is a 85, we're just going straight off of Surging. If booster boxes for the standard ones were to get reprinted, and let's say the price is going for 200, if we're just saying 1.85, that means they'd be at 370. So almost a $200 premium at that point. This is not one for one. We're not saying that we're going to mirror it like Surging, but to take an example and say if we were to compare it, from the exclusivity of the Elite Trainer box, which does have a promo that is special because it's Pokemon Center versus a standard one. I think it's something we could look at and compare.
I mean, I just know once the content machine takes over and like all the YouTubers start making videos about it and like how scarce it's going to be, like once the sales ramp up, and dude, I could just see a frenzy taking over and those things getting very, very scarce in the market.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see that happen if
we've seen the effects of the content machine. We've seen a base set Drowsy go from $5 to $80, dude.
Things will pump. All right, let's do a couple more and then we'll wrap it up here. Thoughts on the fake eBay listing sending a piece of paper to unsuspecting parents that is celebrated by Twimmy as anti-bot, weird state of affairs. The hobby is celebrating.
Honestly, read your descriptions. Like, I'm gonna have this is why I understand why people don't like me. It's because I have takes like this. If you click a listing and you don't read anything and you just click buy because you're just like you're that much of like craze, it's your fault, man. Read the freaking description, read the title, look at the pictures. Like, it's crazy the amount of people that just click and buy having no thought of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's funny just based on the fact that the whole purpose behind it is, if you read the description, because I went and read it and it was like, this is a listing so that it can prevent bots from happening. Like, it's hoping that specifically bots will go in and click on the listing because it's so much cheaper. I think that's hilarious. I like that idea. It sucks that we have to get to this point and do that. And then second off, I just thought it was hilarious because I saw a post about it on Reddit and it was literally like a picture of someone saying like, I got my I got my Destin Rivals booster box early in the mail today, and it just is a picture of him having a printout of like a Destin Rivals booster box, and they're like, what do you guys think I should do with it? Should I open it or should I keep it sealed? And then everyone in the comment section was just, of course, coming up with whatever funniest response they could think of. I just think it's hilarious how the market is kind of handling this. Buy Obsidian boxes now at 167 or try to get Destin Rivals boxes when they release.
I honestly don't know where you can get Obsidian at 167. So if you can do that, it sounds like a really good deal.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. In any of these questions where someone like, you have like some crazy deal you can find that no one knows about, and you're like 20% or more under market, it's always a buy, right? If you can buy anything in this hobby at 20% or more of a discount, that means you can immediately flip it and sell it for all of your money back and then some after fees and everything. That's always going to be a buy. Always.
Yeah. No, I made the mistake and Alfred thankfully corrected me. So I apologize. There is no enhanced booster for Destin. Why in the hell did Pokemon not make Destin Rivals booster box enhanced like they did with Journey? I don't know. It's weird that they would do it for like a one-off set. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, they did. What did they do? Box toppers on Legendary Collection. They didn't do them anymore before or after.
That's such an old set, though.
I'm just saying, like they haven't. Pokemon's never set a precedent on doing like one thing and then like continuing to do it again and again. They've had like one-off situations.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Double Crisis. Like no booster box, no ETBs, just like some weird random set with just blister packs. They've had a bunch of weird release stuff.
Yeah,
it's not past them to do random one-off things, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a weird one. All right, we'll do two more questions, then we'll get on out of here. As JT are touching on right now, the Pokemon Company would make the pull rates easier for the cards because people actually want. Then why blame investors?
I don't ever blame investors. I don't know who is.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think the problem that I'll just say this real quick because we always, I feel like, discuss this topic pretty frequently. I think people just always like to point to something. People need to have a reason for things as to why something happened. It can't just be because everyone likes that set. It has to be because the reason why 151 is so expensive is because everyone's scalping it. It can't be the fact that because everyone wants 151, scalpers now are going to come into it. Like, I don't like, it's this weird debate of like chicken or egg, when in reality, you have to consider the fact that scalpers don't come into a space if there's not money to be made in it. And in order for a space to have money to be made in it, there has to be general demand for it. So the demand will come first and then the scalpers will follow. So when people talk about investors, no one gave a shit about investors when you had booster boxes going for low 80s to like upper like $90 for Paradox forever, for, SV base forever, for, Paldea. But now, of course, as these items have gone up in value, everyone now starts to get upset over the fact that they can't have the opportunity to purchase them anymore because they didn't when it was cheaper. So
Evolutions is the perfect example, dude. Like, nobody wanted Evolutions. I actually got like, cause I've been going to the same card shop by me for, ever since I got back in the hobby back in 2015. And they used to like literally question me, like, you sure you want more Evolutions boxes? Like, they still have these at distro, like, and I'd be buying them for like $85, $90 a box in store. Like, yep, yeah, I want them. Yep, I know, I want them. And so nobody wanted them. No one cared how much you bought. They had them. They did like umpteenth reprints on them. Then when they ran to like 300 during the boom, it was because people are getting irrational. It's the Logan Paul hype. Then it went to 1,000. Well, it's just because people are caught up in irrational exuberance and all this stuff. It's going to crash. And then they came down to 700 and kind of held up there around there. And everyone's like, well, it's just people that are unwilling to accept that they're going to keep going. Eventually they're going to end up letting go of theirs too. And then they started to retrace. People are saying this is just more ridiculous. There's too many out there. It's like, there's always going to be a reason for every rise, no matter what it is. Every fall, there's a reason for it. It's just like, this is just how the market operates. It's buyers and sellers. When there's more buyers than there are sellers, there's more buyers than the amount of product that is out there to service, the price goes up. When there's too many people that want to sell, too much product that not enough people want to buy, the price comes down due to competition. There's nothing more to it. There's no person to blame. It's not my fault or another YouTuber's fault. It's not an investor's fault. It's not a scalper's fault. It's not anything else other than supply and demand. And that's all it's ever going to be.
Yeah, I don't really have any more to add to that. All right, last question. This is following up the previous time Lucky Viewer asked it. Should have stated it better. If you say have 20 duplicates that are $50 or more, is it better to just sell or get trade in value, putting profit back into the hobby? Gotcha. So I assume, okay. Is he referencing like if you go to a card shop and ask for cash versus store credit, or is he referencing it? Is it better for me to go sell it all in bulk to a card shop versus individually selling it online?
Well, here's what I'll say is because of the value of that and that you're probably shipping it with like an actual like package, not an envelope. The shipping is going to cost you a lot of percentage. Let's say the shipping's $5 with shipping and shipping materials. And then you're also paying fees, which is probably another, $5 or more. So you're paying over $10, meaning you're going to have over 80% of your value lose by selling it yourself. Whereas, if you can find a card shop that's going to give you 80% trade-in, even 70 cash, I mean, I would probably go the trade-in value, because unless you're going to find someone to take all of them at once and reduce your shipping, or find a place to reduce your fees, it might be better to just trade them in. Yeah.
Yeah. It just comes down to the amount of time it's going to take you to sell them, and also what your trade-in rate is at the store, right? Because certain stores are obviously going to offer better or worse trade-in rates, versus if you could go sell it somewhere for significantly cheaper and do it as one bulk lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just check your time, see how valuable it is, and go from there. That's kind of the best way to look at it. Because, man, there's been instances where before I had the card store, selling collections was just not worth the time sometimes, having to break it down and sell it individually because the value of the cards were worth less than what I was making an hour or more than what I was. Yeah, no, less than what I was making an hour.
I think people like they discount the benefit of a mass liquidation event. Like, and this isn't like a mass liquidation, but like I think people like they see what things are going for and they have a percentage in their mind they think's fair. And I think people need to like lower their expectations on that percentage, because for someone to take at literally everything you want, you have to understand there's like a huge benefit to that, and be willing to take less for that experience than trying to make max amount of money, but having to take all the time it takes to sell everything individually, all the time it takes to list and sit there until you find the right customers. Like, you're talking about months, if not a year plus long time of liquidating, or having all your money in once in one lump sum, being, done with it, time to move on. And I think those are two very different scenarios and two very different percentages that you should expect.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's wrap it up there. Alex, you got anything you want to say to the people before we head on out today?
No, man, it's good. Another good episode, brother.
Cool beans. Well, just want to remind everyone to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the algorithm. If you want to check out Alex, obviously, link down in the description below is for that. And then lastly, if you want to stay up to date on what's going on in the community, or of course, get notified whenever there's a spot available next and the wholesale program, message me on Discord or join the Discord. Links down in the description below for that. But hopefully everyone had a good week with Journey Together. We'll be back next week to talk more Pokemon news and what's going on. But have a good one, everyone.